You know, when you think about global business, some of the biggest decisions aren't happening in a fancy boardroom. Nope. They're being made on the ground in really volatile, unpredictable places by private security teams. If they get it right, it's just another Tuesday. But if they get it wrong, well, that's an international incident. So what's the secret playbook that the smartest companies are using to manage all that chaos? Let's get into it. And really, this is the fundamental question, isn't it? When your company is operating all over the world, dealing with totally different laws and cultures, how do you even begin to manage the huge risk that comes with private security? How do you make sure the people you've hired to protect you don't become the biggest liability you have?
Because let's be real, the environment for these kinds of operations is unbelievably high stakes. We are talking about this massive, tangled web of risks that can literally destroy a company's success overnight.
And you've got to understand, these threats aren't happening in a vacuum. They're all connected. A legal problem can explode into a human rights crisis. One slip-up on the ground can completely demolish a reputation that took decades to build. It's like a domino effect, where one wrong move out in the field can bring the entire company structure crashing down.
It all sounds pretty chaotic, right? Almost unmanageable. But what if there was a standardized, internationally accepted playbook for all this? A system built specifically to help navigate this minefield, turning all that unpredictability into a process you can actually manage.
Well, there is, and it's called ISO 18788. Now, I know what you might be thinking, another ISO standard, but just hang with me for a second. The absolute best way to get this is to think of it like an operating system for security. Seriously, it's the framework that makes sure all your different security apps, your teams, your rules, your emergency plans, all run smoothly and actually talk to each other, no matter where on Earth they are.
And a system like this didn't just appear out of thin air. It's actually built on top of these major international agreements, like the Montreux Document, which kind of set the big ethical and legal rules of the game for security operations. So ISO 18788 is the tool that takes those really big, high-level ideas and makes them real, a practical, auditable system you can use in the field. It's what connects the why we should do this with the how we actually do it.
Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this system go from being some document sitting on a shelf to a living, breathing process that actually prevents disasters? How does this operating system really work day to day?
The engine that drives the whole thing is a super simple but really powerful loop. Plan, do, check, act. It's pretty intuitive. First, you plan for every possible risk. Then, you do the work. You put those plans into action. But here's the key. You don't just set it and forget it. You constantly check your performance. Are we hitting out targets? What's working? What's not? And then you act on that information to improve the process. It's this constant cycle of learning and getting better.
And look, this disciplined cycle, it's not just about ticking some compliance boxes. For the decision makers, the leaders who are actually steering the ship, this system delivers real strategic advantages that protect the entire organization. Just take a look at this. First up, risk mitigation. The whole plan, do, check, act cycle forces you to systematically find and deal with threats before they blow up into a crisis. Second, due diligence. In our world today, being able to prove you've done your homework on human rights isn't optional. This system is your proof. And third, reputation management. We live in an age where one bad video can go viral and just torpedo a brand. This framework gives you strict, clear rules for the use of force, which protects that priceless brand reputation.
But just getting the certification, that's not where the story ends. The truly forward-thinking organizations, the ones who are really leading the pack, they use this as a foundation to build something even more robust.
They bring in what's called the MSLF system. You can think of it as an upgrade package. It uses ISO 1878 as its core, but it adds two incredibly powerful layers. First, it bakes human rights risk assessments into every single decision, right from the very beginning. And second, it creates a formal, systematic way of reporting and, more importantly, learning from every incident. This completely transforms security from just a reactive guard force into a proactive intelligence-gathering operation.
And this table just perfectly illustrates that massive shift in thinking. We are moving away from the old way of doing things, just reactive guarding, waiting for something bad to happen. We're getting away from that incident-driven mindset that was only focused on protecting things. The new way? It's all about proactive governance. It's system-driven, not event-driven. And its focus expands way beyond just assets to a deep commitment to ethics and the law.
This quote really nails it.
The goal is no longer just to guard a facility. The goal is to actively govern the entire security function with intelligence, with foresight, and with strict adherence to international standards. It's a total redefinition of the job.
So that leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on. We've seen how a structured system like ISO 1878 can bring order to an incredibly chaotic field. But is a formal system, no matter how well it's designed, the ultimate key to guaranteeing ethical action when things get really tough on the ground? It's a powerful tool, for sure, but what does it truly take to turn a playbook into principled behavior? That's something worth thinking about.